Welcome to the Rinkside Report. I'm Caitlin Roche, and with me, my co-host, Rob Staggenborg. With us today, we have a very special guest who has taken professional pictures for over 36 years. He's covered the St. Louis Blues, the St. Louis Cardinals, all the way to the St. Louis Rams. Photographed the Olympics in 2014. He's worked for USA Today, Sports Illustrated, along with the ESPN magazine. He also enjoys lecturing and teaching young photographers. Please welcome to our show, Scott Rovak.
Welcome, Scott.
Thank you so much for coming on and joining the Rinkside Report with us today. Your photographs are absolutely stunning. So we've gone over your bio. You're very impressive in photography and been in it for a long time. But I want to know, when you were growing up, what first sparked your interest into getting into photography?
I was always like the family photographer. When we went on vacations, I remember taking my pop's camera and, I'd be the one taking pictures. And I even remember back, like we went, I don't remember if it was like Cape Canaveral or somewhere where I actually had two cameras. I knew back then as a little kid that, okay, this one I see a little wider than the other one, so I guess I've always had that kind of love for photography. And then my mentor was an Ansel Adams protege. So in high school, like one of my best friends, his stepdad assisted and taught at Ansel Adams workshops, big fine art. So that's kind of how I got interested in photography more and more as a profession. And so fine art was really cool, and I liked that. But he had started as a sports photographer. Then I met a guy that was a Cardinals photographer, and at 18, after graduating high school, I spent the whole season shooting baseball with him, and then basically ever since.
Wow. Hey, Scott, first of all, good to see you again. Good to check in with you.
Too.
I got to point out to Caitlin now. Caitlin, that is the picture that Tony Patrico explained when he was holding the Stanley Cup, and that is Scott's picture.
Amazing. Yep. It makes total sense. He was the DJ at the time for that
event.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott, that is your picture, right, behind you?
Oh, yeah. Because, people like, the angle and everything, sorry, I'm like in the way of it. It is a fisheye lens, but I have my camera on a monopod, so I'm actually able to extend it and hold it up. So it looks like I'm 15 feet off the ground. Since I'm only 5'6", it's a lot better angle.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. What was one of the first big events that you got to be a photographer at?
Probably like Stanley Cups and All-Star games, baseball All-Star games. I worked with when baseball was over for the season and my hockey schedule, I would shoot for like a wire service. So like US Press Wire, USA Today. And so that back then, doing those kind of games, I got to know, a lot of the other photographers. And there was a local Sports Illustrated staffer, and I knew that he had a full-time assistant, but that guy moved to New York. And so it was like, I'll do some games with you. I'll travel around and do some games. But since I was making money, making a living at it and being a photographer, it was like, okay, I'm not just like, push around a system. I'm not just going to be, carrying gear and that's it. I know what the hell I'm doing. Which worked out well because, I would be shooting whatever we were doing. I'd be shooting one area, he'd be shooting another area. So back then was able to do and travel with him doing some big marquee events. So that really helped shape how I've become and what I've been doing.
Hey, Scott, a lot of our show, we really focus a lot on hockey primarily. And I just want to see if you could kind of give folks a description of what is your shooting environment? Like you're caught in that corner, you're in a hole about that. Like what are you able to catch and what are some of the exciting moments from that vantage point?
Well, the thing, where holes are, every arena can be a little different. Some have what we call down ice holes where you can actually see down the other end, see the boards on your left or right, depending on which corner you're in. We have 8 holes at at the Enterprise Center. And they're mostly on the side. They're kind of start to be where it's rounded off. So you really don't see down ice as well. But when they redid Enterprise Center and redid the seats and everything and the boards, I was able to get a new hole put. So it's kind of more on the curve. so I can actually bend and see, like if we score a goal and the guys come down the line doing their fist bumps, I can actually just bend and see those guys and get more of a head-on shot of that, which also allows me to shoot the other end more. So even though it might be the backs of our players, I can see celebration, I can see what's happening. So yeah, it's just a hole big enough, for a lens, and you can move around a little bit. And pretty much on a normal season, I might go in the, this season was totally different with protocols and the way things where we were allowed and weren't allowed. But normally get to the game 3 hours early, set up gear. I have my assistant with me. He always just drives down with me. And, we set up, we turn on, we have strobes up in the catwalk. So we're shooting with big flash units. So I'm basically only taking a picture every like 2.5 seconds because the strobes have to recycle. Now, if it goes into overtime or a shootout or if it's a playoff game, a lot of times we don't use the strobes, and then we're shooting 12, 14 frames a second, so we don't miss anything. But the color, the quality of the image, the look of it, the art director, advertisers, they like the look of the strobes a lot better. Most of the arenas have gone to new sport LED lighting, and it's better now, so you can shoot available light and it looks better than it used to, but still nothing compares to flash to the strobes. So anyway, we'll turn on strobes, we'll test that stuff. I'll go in the locker room when the guys are getting dressed and get, cool candids of them getting ready for the game, stuff like that, shoot warm-ups a little bit, and then the game. But this year with the COVID protocols, I wasn't allowed anywhere near the players. We even had our photo workroom move from the lower level where it normally is, to the concourse level, to an area they found us. And then I would just go to the hole, shoot the game, go back up to my computer. We try to transmit 8 to 11 images or so in between every period during the intermission. Being a team photographer, my stuff goes to the NHL and Getty Images because Getty handles NHL's library. So I'll caption, pick pictures and caption and get them out. My assistant's doing the same. So we get them a good handful of pictures that they can use on social right away and stuff like that. Usually like we used to get there like 3+ hours before to do all that other stuff. With this year, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours was fine. And then finish up editing the game, especially if I had I might set up a remote camera somewhere else that I can trigger from a different location, and then, edit that stuff too, and then get out of there about an hour and a half later.
So having the 2019 Stanley Cup, Boston Bruins versus the Blues, they took down the Bruins, but what was the energy like in the Enterprise Center? Because obviously this year, the capacity wasn't at full. When you're photographing, when you're taking pictures, is the glass shaking? Are you kind of distracted by the noise? What was the difference between 2019 and this year for you?
Well, I mean, they pumped in the fake noise, the fake crowd in the beginning, and luckily, 'cause they did that last year. Being a Cardinals photographer and shooting in an empty stadium for the COVID games last summer for baseball, they pumped in the crowd noise and it was like stupid loud. Like we complained all the time. It's like, this isn't even real. I mean, I've shot World Series games in this building and it's never this loud, especially a guy fouls off a pitch and you're going to have the crowd screaming, it was really, really bad. So I even was able to tell the people in charge at the arena about that. And luckily, I think they did listen a little bit because it wasn't too loud and it was controlled correctly. But then they started letting people in, so they were able to turn that down. And then towards the very end of the season, it was just a crowd. And it was still loud. It was still decent to hear. But even with the Stanley Cup game, All-Star game, stuff like that, I mean, it's awesome hearing how loud it is, but it doesn't, like a player, you're zoned out with it. You don't really let it affect you. There's just certain times where, you get the one fan next to you that thinks he knows everything about hockey and he's trying to tell his buddies or his family, and I'm like, dude, you're like, just shut up. I mean, that gets a little annoying when you're sitting there going, okay, that's how it goes.
Yep.
But yeah, it's easy to kind of drown out.
Nice. And for the past 36 years, you've witnessed the St. Louis Cardinals take 6 national pennants, 4 American League pennants, and 2 World Series titles. What's one of your favorite memories from that time of your life?
I mean, just the first World Series victory, I think was something that I hadn't experienced. So that just right there hits, seeing the trophy. It was really funny because 2006, when the trophy was like sitting by itself in LaRusse's office, I just went in there and grabbed a couple pictures of it really quick. And it was just kind of neat just seeing it sitting there by itself, after everybody had already had it. One of the coolest things I think that happened 2006 and 11 is we did our Stanley Cup photo. We did the group, the team around the trophy, and that had never been done in baseball. Now you see it even when they win a division, or even if they just make the playoffs, you see the guys doing it. But the first time it really happened in it wasn't even the LCS, it was the division series against the Mets in 2006. No, I guess it was the LCS. So it was against the Mets, because then we went to Detroit for the World Series. But I heard a commotion. I'm like in the clubhouse. It's a really small clubhouse in Shea Stadium, or that's where it was at the time. And I kind of looked down this hallway and I saw a photographer in the hallway, and I'm like, it's an off-limit area. It's like players and staff only. So I grabbed him, like, dude, you're gonna get us all kicked out of here. You go back there. And then I heard somebody yell, Scotty, get in here. And it was Edmonds. And there was like maybe 15, 16 guys and a couple coaches, and they got their beers, and they're all like, we're number one. And then Edmonds is like, 4 more games and we're doing this again. So we win the World Series, and I even said, let's do that picture. So we got, Yadi's holding the World Series trophy. We got the whole team. And I can't remember, Rob, who for Sports Illustrated, the guy that used to write the article on the back, the very back page of SI, was it Pat? Was it? I don't remember. Anyway, he was a regular, contributor, the guy that you always know had a big article. He wrote when he was reading the follow-up on the World Series game. It was really cool because he said, and they just took the greatest photograph they will ever remember, because that had not been done in baseball. And I even told other team photographers the next year, so go to your go-to guy. Here's how you get it done. And then we did it again in 2011. And now, like I said, now you see it all the time. But it was kind of cool that, really, more of a big deal for me, and just personally, that I know that I took basically the very first Stanley Cup picture with the trophy in baseball.
Yeah. Hey,
That's amazing.
Scott, the one thing that we talk a lot about with photography is just, being there for special moments. And obviously you've captured so many of them in baseball and NFL, you've covered the Olympics, you've been all around. But I know, having been someone who's really worked with you, man, you really come alive when you work with portraits and when you do portraits of people, and you have an opportunity to do portraiture of many famous athletes. And they actually ask you after the fact to, they want to purchase the portraits for their homes.
Right.
Talk about working for some of these athletes and how you're able to capture that character.
I mean,
in a portrait.
I think being around the game so much, and I know what they go through, and being in that inner circle that you get to know them, they don't want to spend a lot of time. I've worked with other photographers that take like the longest time, take so many pictures when they're doing a portrait shoot, and it's like you can tell the guy's annoyed or tired, like, come on now. And I've always learned you don't really need to take that much time. And if you are willing to work with them more like that, I think that then their personality comes out more and they're more relaxed. Certain guys I've photographed, you can kind of joke around, or it's always nice to be able to talk to a player. And if like another player he knows and says, oh yeah, when I shot so-and-so, we talked about this or something, you just kind of bring out that kind of stuff and just have that attitude, like, I'll make this quick, and I think that's just always helped. It's something that, you just don't need to go crazy with. And I know the other photographers think they have to shoot 150 pictures of a guy standing there, or doing maybe 2 different poses. And it's like, give me 5 or 6, I don't need to make it that big of a deal. And that way I know they're comfortable. You get the best reaction, their body language, everything is more relaxed. So that's usually the best pictures. So yeah, being able to shoot guys like that, or even when I have an idea for some cool image, whether it be hockey or baseball, they're more willing to work with you when they know that that's how you are, in creating an image.
And you also do landscapes, fine art, and commercial shoots. Since the Blues are unfortunately out of the playoffs now, are you planning to travel anywhere and start any new projects?
Yeah, there's a buddy of mine that we used to teach together at a camera store. They did a bunch of workshops and traveling stuff, and so he and I kind of created our own thing. It's under his name, his company, but we have been doing workshops lately. We even have one Saturday, like a studio workshop with a model, and then we get the customers come out, 2-3 hours and teach them lighting and teach different things. last Friday night there was a carnival out in the county on a mall parking lot, and we went and did long exposure stuff with the lights, you know, and that was kind of fun. We had 6 customers there. We are planning our first, as the 2 of us being a teaching unit, we are planning a trip in September. We're going to Colorado and Eastern Utah with all the, you know, really cool sites, and it's like 8 days, you know, big package deal for the customers. And so that's going to be really fun because I do love shooting that kind of stuff. And I love that's really kind of keeps me, you know, having fun at it, and just, you know, never not thinking photography really. Like today, they have what's called a paint the ice, where they let kids and families come in and they paint, you know, the arena ice before they melt it and get rid of the ice. And, you know, that's always a neat thing watching, you know, people do that. So I'll go down there for that tonight, and it'll be the last time at the arena probably till the end of the summer, which is always tough. But, you know, I got baseball. I got, you know, Thursday I got Cardinals game starting. So, you know, another homestand, you know, so it's always keeps busy, always got something going.
And Scott, you know, you talked about, you know, you're teaching and you're doing a lot of teaching, and obviously part of the responsibility of being a professional is to train that next generation. And you certainly mentor a lot of young photographers whose work is appears in USA Today and the hockey writers and all. You know, talk about that whole aspect of just finding talent.
Yeah, that is really kind of a fun thing, because I've met a lot of photographers that don't help younger photographers, and it just blows me away, because you're kind of, you know, if you shape them, if you teach them the right way to do things, then it helps our industry. You know, if you think like this guy's going to take my job later on, and you don't help them learn that they could do things the wrong way, and they could really hurt, you know, how things are done. Because Jeff Curry, who Rob, you know, who was one of my first interns, basically, back when we had the St. Louis Sports Magazine, he helped us out and then became an assistant. And, you know, now he's does Mizzou's track and field, travels with them, USA Today, Getty. He does a lot of NASCAR for Getty. You know, he's basically a full-time pro photographer. And then my current assistant, Joe, who's been with me for a few years, started as a family friend through my stepson, but always interested in photography. I think it's probably like going on like 5 years now. You know, he shoots for USA Today Sports. He shoots for Associated Press now. And then we even had an assistant. Joe and I had a guy, because in hockey, sometimes the Blues might say, hey, Brett Hull's going up to a suite to shake hands and sign autographs. Do you have somebody that can go up there and take pictures? Well, I didn't like taking Joe away from shooting at the other end opposite me, getting action. So we have this guy, Jeff Lee, come in, another friend of mine, and Jeff would go up there and do those kind of shots. Well, this year, because we had a lot of baseball games at the same time as hockey games, and there weren't a lot of people available, USA Today needed somebody to shoot hockey because there were Cardinals games going on. And Joe's working for me or Associated Press. Jeff was already working for USA Today or AP over at, or Getty over at baseball. So then the second assistant of ours started shooting the hockey games for USA Today and did a great job. And so now all of a sudden it's like, this is the third guy I've brought into the loop that, you know, is he has a full-time job as a photographer for a company, you know, commercial work, product photography. But now all of a sudden in sports, he's making money, you know, shooting for USA Today. So it's really cool that to me is something that, okay, I must be good at, you know, helping these guys learn and seeing a talent in them, because you can't just go and shoot a game. You know, I have to see that they have the ability. And I think the fact that we would have them shoot here and there and just keep telling them, this is how I would do this, or that's how, watch for this, and other things, you know, just down the road, that just really helps them and helps shape them become better photographers. And I think that just helps keep the industry going.
Caitlin, now you want to kind of wrap up? We're kind of wrapping up with Scott Rovak, professional photographer. He shot the Olympics, he shot the Stanley Cup, World Series, Super Bowls, NASCAR, Indianapolis 500, rock concerts, you name it, man. He's
well,
been there.
Unfortunately, the Rams are no longer in St. Louis, but I'm in Southern California. So if you ever miss the Rams, sunny Southern California is a great vacation spot.
He doesn't miss the Rams, trust me.
I miss shooting football. I don't miss the organization. Let's put it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Scott, for coming on with us. Appreciate it so much. And check out our Rinkside Media website, and hope to see you soon. And I look forward to seeing more work from you in the baseball season.
And
awesome. Thank you so much.
I want to tell people you can always see Scott at like a Cardinal game after they win. He's on the mound taking pictures, or when the Blues, he's shuffling on the ice.
Gets on the ice. Yeah.
I always look for you, Scott. I swear I do. It's like, now that I know you, it's like, oh yeah, there's Scott. Oh, Scott's over here. So I definitely always look for you, man. And
it always happens.
Great job.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
Cool. We'll go and wrap it up.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care. Have a good one.
You too.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.